What's up, everybody? D Man back. Welcome to a brand new video. This one is going to be the Godzilla Q and A episode 4. This is not 3.5, this is not 3, this is not 2, this is not 1, this is 1, this is the fourth one. So the first question we're going to be doing is from Zilla2006 Abel. Now, this is a two-part question, so I'm going to break it down into parts. The first part of it is, if TOHO makes a sequel to Shin Godzilla, what monsters do you like to see in the sequel? So what monsters would I like to see in Shin Godzilla 2? I know I am in the minority here. Most people are going to disagree with me. I just want to see Godzilla. I don't want to see King Ghidorah, I don't want to see Anguirus, I don't want to see Baragon, I just want to see Godzilla. I want another solo Godzilla movie because they have a lot they can do with it. What I want to see, personally, is a movie about, Godzilla frozen in the city, and I've said this before in videos, Godzilla frozen in the city, the things hatch off his tail, they try to defend him up until he is ready to come back out, and once he's healed and he's able to move around again, the things on his tail are going to defend him up until that's ready. They're going to take on like a hive mind kind of persona, just protect Godzilla, but they are also, I want to see like them hunting down military, things like that. I want to see them running around through the city, causing damage, up until Godzilla's ready, and then I want Godzilla to evolve immediately when he's ready. I want him to evolve into a much more classic looking Godzilla. I want him to get a blue atomic breath, and I want him to be a much more standard version of Godzilla, and I want him to just cause damage like Godzilla does. I want some personality with it. I want him to, instead of just walking in a straight line, go after buildings, destroy buildings, show some emotions, get annoyed with things, get annoyed with helicopters being all around in his face, like the normal Godzilla does. I want something like that, and I think that would be a really cool movie. These things defending him, the military freaking out, what the hell do we do about these little monsters running around through the city? We gotta fight them some way, and then all of a sudden Godzilla wakes up, and they're like, well, we're screwed. I want to see some tensions there between the Japanese government and the American government, with the nuke, where the Americans are like, hey, you gave us permission, we're gonna shoot this thing into your country, and the Japanese are like, no, you're not. I want to see something like that. I think that would be a really cool movie. The second part to his question is, in Godzilla vs. Kong, who do I want to win? Now, a lot of people have been asking me this. Who am I rooting for? Who do I think's going to win in Godzilla vs. Kong 2020? Personally, the one that I'm rooting for and the one that I think will win is the same. I think Godzilla is going to win, and I personally want him to win. Just because, well, this isn't the only reason, but for the most part, because King Kong won in 1962, I think it's Godzilla's turn to win nowadays in the rematch. Also, Godzilla is a bigger figure in pop culture nowadays, so I think he'll win. Not only is he physically bigger and probably more powerful than Kong, but I think it would make more sense for Godzilla to win, considering he survived a nuclear bomb. So who knows how they're going to play it out, who knows how powerful Kong is going to be, we'll have to wait till Skull Island to see. But at this point, I'm saying I want Godzilla to win, and I think it'd be really cool if he does. Now I have a question that many people have asked for, so sorry for the ones who asked this and I didn't write you down, but the person who asked this specific one that I'm going to be talking about is Chaotic Cobras, and they ask, what is your least favorite Godzilla movie? Mine's Godzilla Revenge. How dare you? Godzilla Revenge is an awesome movie, alright? That is not my least favorite Godzilla movie. My least favorite Godzilla movie is Godzilla vs. Sea Monster. That movie blows. I don't like watching that movie. It's not fun, it's not entertaining, Godzilla looks terrible, it takes so long to get him into the movie, it is just so dull and boring. I can't stand to watch that movie. I mean, sure, towards the end of it, it picks up when Mothra shows up for like 2 minutes, Ebra's alright, but for the most part, that movie absolutely sucks all the way around. You can't even see some of the fights with Godzilla and Ebra underwater, and then that giant condor comes in. It's just a terrible movie. Godzilla's Revenge at least is fun, and it is very fun. And I would even argue, I know I'm once again in the minority here, I would even argue Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster is like the one Godzilla film that is worse than 98, because even 98 is just mindless. Like, you can just watch that movie and, you know, it's just like popcorn entertainment. You're not going to be bored of tears like you are with Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. So, I know minority here, but I personally prefer 98 over Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. Now I have a question from Charles George. He asks, Q and A, what's your favorite fan film Godzilla movie? Alright, so my favorite fan film Godzilla movie, I don't watch fan films of Godzilla movies. I know there's like Godzilla Battle Royale, which is a very, you know, mixed movie. There's some people that love it, there's some people that hate it. There's me who just wouldn't watch it because it was bad. Then there's other ones, like I think there's like one Godzilla and the Kaiju Killer or something like that. There's, you know, there's a bunch of them. I personally don't watch fan films. The only ones that I watch are Louis Duran's fan films, so I'm gonna have to say Force of Nature #1, just because that's the only one that I've sat all the way through. Godzilla Heritage actually looks pretty good. I have hopes for that to be a good one, and then there's some other ones that are coming out that, you know, have potential, so who knows, maybe someday that I'll watch a real, like, a main, like a big kind of fan film, and my opinion will change. Final question comes from David Brown, and he asks, hey D Man1954, if you were doing a Kaiju cinematic universe, what changes would you make? Thanks. Now, if I was doing a Kaiju cinematic universe, what changes would I make? So Legendary is already starting their Kaiju cinematic universe. The thing that I would do differently that a lot of people are failing at nowadays when trying these cinematic universes that I think Legendary is somewhat hitting on, but not necessarily getting fully, is I would do solo films for each character that was going to have a crossover. So, one thing that Legendary is doing, and doing well, is they're having a Godzilla story and a King Kong story separately running, and eventually they'll cross over. That's how you do it. That's how the Avengers did it, and, you know, that's what a lot of studios are failing to do nowadays. What I would do differently is I would set up King Ghidorah and Mothra and Rodan beforehand. I would give Rodan his solo movie, Mothra her solo movie, King Ghidorah may have an appearance in like Rodan or Mothra's movie. I don't necessarily know if he could carry his own movie on his own. He's never had his own movie before. I mean, sure, it would be cool, but, you know, King Ghidorah has never had his own movie before, so I can't say with certainty that, you know, this character is popular enough to carry his own movie, whereas Rodan and Mothra already are, because they've already had their own solo films. So I would set up the characters beforehand, before having Godzilla 2 where they all meet. That is just personally how I would do it. I think it's a big missed opportunity that Legendary is not doing it. We could have a Mothra movie set entirely in Japan or on some sort of island off coast of Japan. We could have Rodan set entirely in Japan, or as a reference to Destroy All Monsters, you know, we could have it set in like Moscow or Russia, you know, I don't know, something like that where they had their own individual films beforehand setting up a worldwide threat, then have them meet in America in Godzilla 2. Ghidorah could show up. I think he'd fit better in Mothra just because, you know, he shows up in Rebirth of Mothra series and it worked well. So he could show up here in the Mothra movie and it would work alright. Those are the changes I'd make, because personally I think Godzilla 2 is going to suffer because it is going to have to set up 3 different kaiju and then have them fight, and I don't know if it's going to do it correctly. I don't know if they're going to give the time that they need to give to each different kaiju to set them up, because they also still have to develop Godzilla, something that they failed to do in 2014 because they focused so much on the Mutos, who also could have probably gotten away with their own solo film, just because honestly Godzilla 2014 was so focused on the Mutos that it forgot to focus on Godzilla. Whereas you could have focused on Godzilla had the Mutos showed up and then he fights them. That is how I would have done that movie. I wouldn't give the Mutos their own solo movie, but it's almost like Gareth Edwards wanted to because of how much attention he gave those characters of the kaiju. Now that's all I would do with a Kaiju Cinematic Universe. I would just make sure that each kaiju got their own solo film before they hit a crossover, because that way you wouldn't have to set up who is this monster, what is he can do, what is this monster, is that what is Mothra, how does that work, you know, this kind of thing, I would already have it set up beforehand, and I wouldn't focus on that in Godzilla 2, because I wouldn't want to bog down the plot. I wouldn't want to pull away from Godzilla's time to give these characters their own time, which is what they're doing, so who knows how they'll do it. Hopefully they do it right, but that's the only thing that I would do. Thank you guys all for your questions. I hope you enjoyed. Remember, if I didn't answer your question in this video, that doesn't mean I didn't get it. That doesn't mean I didn't see it. And please don't comment the same question on multiple videos. That just makes it even more confusing for me to try and write down questions. If I didn't get to you this time, maybe next time. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. D Man out.